ඔබමයි දකින අසන සිව් දිග ඔබමයි ඉරහඳ ඔබමයි දකින අසන සිව් දිග ඔබමයි වන සරල පෙම්බර මිහි මඩල පුරා නැගුණු නැගින මතු නිමැවෙන ලොවම හරා Sena Gugurana Navatani Salavana Irahanobamai Patina Asana Siudika Obamai Lokaya desa balu vita Obey nuwana kala Mahaviskan hambune Nuwana lesin nuwana rakinnata Nuwana lesin nuwana rakinnata Ratadayaka jana hagavan Eratamaye Surya Sandirare கேட்கும் திசை எங்கும் நீரே சூரிய சந்திரரே காணும் கேட்கும் திசை எங்கும் நீரே வானில் கடலிலும் அன்புடன் பூமி எங்கும் நிர்மாணிப்பதும் உலகெங்கும் சிரிப்பதும் அழுவதும் மகிழ்வதும் அதிர்வதும் மீண்டும் அமைதி பெறும் சூரிய சந்திரரே காணும் கேட்கும் திசை எங்கும் நீரே අරුම පුදන ඔබ උපන් විමක් ලද මහරු මහිම වේවා මනස නගා මනුදම් දුලවන්නට මනස නගා මනුදම් දුලවන්නට ඔබේ මහට දී මලසක් වේවා ඉරහඳ ඔබමයි Dakinasana siudiga obamai Irahanda obamai Dakinasana siudiga obamai Uvana sarra pembara mihi madala pura Naigunu naigina matu nimavena lovama hara Hinena velapena Sena Gugurana Navatani Salavana Irahanobamai Patina Asana Siudika Obamai Surya Sandirare எங்கும் நீரே இரஹனோபமයි பத்தின அசன சிவுதிக ஓபமයි
A very good morning to all. I'm Saritri Senaratna from University of Sri Javadanapura, your host for the day. It is with great pleasure and honor we welcome you all to the grand finale of the Inter-University Debate Competition 2021, organized by the Institution of Engineers, Sri Lanka. For 4 long months, the initial rounds of the debate were held grandly, followed by the semi-final rounds. 7 universities from all over Sri Lanka fought neck to neck, debating on highly significant contemporary topics. Along with the experience gathered in the previous rounds, battling for an esteemed title of victory from the Central Hills and the southern lands of the country, today in the grand finale, we have University of Peradeniya and University of Ruhuna. The topic for today's finale is shifting towards 70% renewable energy power by 2030 is feasible regardless of the current economic standpoint and framework of Sri Lanka. As they say, for good ideas and true innovation, you need human interaction, conflict, argument, and debate. Commemorating the famous words, and while wishing both the teams best of luck on yet another heated contest, we would now formally commence the event. To welcome the virtual gathering, Chairman of YMS IESL, Engineer Damit Disanayake will address you shortly. Engineer Damit Disanayake is a chartered civil engineer from University of Peradeniya, being an executive engineer in the Provincial Road Development Department of Northwestern Province. He is also a council member of IESL and the chairman of the Young Members section of IESL. Now I cordially invite Engineer Disanayake to welcome you all. So would you please oblige?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Charitri. Thank you for your nice introduction, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As the chairman of YMS, it is my duty to welcome you all for this great event. First of all, I would like to welcome Engineer KPIU Dharmapala, the President of the Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka, and Engineer Arjuna Manamperi, the President-elect of the IESL. And I would like to welcome Professor Gyamunu Herat, Dean, Faculty of Engineering, University of Peradeniya. And I would like to welcome Dr. Harsha Shoryarachchi, the Dean, Faculty of Engineering, University of Ruhuna. And I mostly welcome all the academic staff of all the universities, those who have joined with this grand event. And I would like to welcome Dr. Sujiva Vimalasena, the Liaison Officer of University of Ruhuna, and Engineer Mahanama Disanayake, the Liaison Officer for University of Peradeniya. And I would like to welcome Professor Udayanga Himmapala, he is the advisor for YMS. And Engineer Chamil Ledirimuni, he is also advisor for YMS. And I would like to welcome Engineer Kovida Bakmi Denier, he is the match referee for this grand finale. And there are 3 judges in this final match. First, I would like to welcome Dr. Asanka Rodrigo and Mr. Viren Berualage and Mr. Gihan Samaravikrama. Sir, we would like to welcome you all for this grand event. And I would like to welcome Engineer Tirina Disanayake, the moderator for today's event, and Engineer Sabri Shaboon, the backup moderator. And Engineer Navodana Kankanamge, immediate past chairman of YMS, Engineer Andita Rajapaksa, the secretary for YMS, and Engineer Ishan Dahanayake is the chief coordinator for this YMS Inter-University Debate Competition. And I would like to welcome Mr. Pradeep Patum, the secretary of the organizing committee, and I would like to welcome all the members in this organizing committee. At last, but not least, I would like to welcome all the participants, those who have joined in this virtual platform, and those who are watching this grand debate live via Event TV. As the YMS, I will briefly explain the purpose of organizing this event. This is a hard time for all of us because of the prevailing pandemic situation. But as the YMS, we never gave up. We selected the virtual platform for some of our programs. We have organized several programs for the young engineers, undergraduates and school students. We have conducted a program, namely Talk to School program, which is a motivation program that is for the school students. YMS organized several awareness programs, guest lectures, panel discussion, and etc. During this year, we have focused our attention to two major events. That is YMS Technical Conference, which was successfully held on yesterday, and another one is this event, Inter-University Debate Competition. Regarding this debate competition, I think this is the first time. This is the first time we are organizing the Inter-University Debate Competition. I strongly believe that this is a very good opportunity for the undergraduates to improve their communication skills along with the critical thinking. They will need to present their ideas in a clear professional manner, which will be enable them to develop their speaking skills. Finally, this event will build a bridge between the universities. In addition to this, the undergraduates, those who are in the organizing committee, work tirelessly and acquire a lot of experiences. They were able to show their talents while contributing for the organizing work. This is the final outcome of a long process of more than 5-6 months. This is not a process of just 2-3 weeks. 7 engineering faculties participated for this debate competition. And finally, these two teams, University of Peradeniya and University of Ruhuna, qualified to the grand finale. Finally, I want to say that the YMS is ready to give its maximum for the betterment of younger generation. We hope this young generation will come forward, take the battle, and drive this country to new heights. As the YMS, that is our final goal. With that note, I conclude my welcome speech and opening remarks. I wish both teams good luck for today's contest. Have a great debate. Thanks. Over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we are slowly moving towards the most awaited and the intense rivalry of the DTM University. Ladies and gentlemen, so I'm very much honored to introduce you. University of Ruhuna.
are three important things that we should remember when it comes to being successful as a team.
It always seems impossible until it's done. Never give up.
Physically and mentally.
Team spirit comes the first.
We can win anything with the above three.
We are rooted, ready to show who is the best in this arena.
Yes, so everybody's ready to get the start. The question is, are you? So with that, let me introduce today's finale. So first of all, the moderator of today's match, Engineer Disanayaka. Engineer Tilina Chamara Disanayaka obtained his Bachelor of Science in Engineering degree from University of Peradeniya and earned MBA as well. He is currently the proprietor of Infinity Engineering, who is also a counselor and a motivational speaker. And also as a backup moderator, we have Engineer Shabri Samoon. He is a director of Ceylon Tea Brewer Private Limited and former automation and instrumentation engineer of Holcim Sri Lanka Limited, former project engineer of INSEE Cementi, and president of Puttalam Toastmasters Club, senior secretary of IESL Puttalam District Center, and entrepreneur, a manufacturer, and investor. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it started. So, Engineer Tilina, over to you.
Thank you very much, MCs, for that very flattering introduction. Hi, good morning to you all. It's better to debate a question without settling it rather than to settle a question without debating it. Welcome to the grand finale of the inaugural debate competition organized by the Young Members section of Institute of Engineers, Sri Lanka. Now, we all are super excited because this is the very first time we are witnessing an event of such caliber between universities of Sri Lanka. In one hand, I have the team from the south representing University of Ruhuna. And on my other hand, it's the team from the Central Highlands representing Faculty of Engineering, University of Peradeniya. We have played many matches to get here, but for the sake of the audience and for the sake of the players, I like to go through the rules and regulations of this event once again. So here goes. Each team will have 6 members, 4 speakers, and 2 reserve speakers. Each speaker will have 6 minutes for his or her speech. And at the end, the team leader will have 7.5 minutes for the summary speech. Timing starts with the first word uttered by the speakers. Speakers will see their timing screens during their speech as follows. From the beginning, they will see the green screen, and at the end of the 5th minute, they will see the yellow screen, and at the end of the 6th minute, they will see the red screen until the end of their respective speeches. Consequently, in the summary speech, the green screen will appear from the beginning, and at the end of the 6 minute and 30 seconds barrier, you will see the yellow screen. And at the end of the 7 minute and 30 second barrier, you will see the red screen, and which will remain until the end of the speech. The reserve members of any team can help the speakers by sharing resources, by screen sharing, and etc. In case of disconnection, if the speaker gets disconnected less than 1 minute into his or her speech, he or she can start the speech from the beginning. If the speaker gets disconnected more than 1 minute into his speech, he or she needs to restart his speech from the point of disconnection. After each speech, there will be 2 minutes for the judges to mark their ballot sheets. all members of the proposition team should rename themselves as follows: PRO _ speech number and the name. I'll repeat it again: PRO _ speaker's number and the name. And the team leader of the proposition should rename himself as PRO _ speaking number, name, and within brackets, leader. The team in the opposition should rename themselves as OPP _ speaking number, then the name. I'll repeat it again: OPP _ speaking number, then the name. And the team leader should rename himself as OPP _ speaking number, name, and within brackets, leader. I think it's clear to all. All this is done to avoid technical difficulties in the Zoom platform. The total points of each team will be revealed with the final results. And the results of the judges are final. In any competition, and especially in a competition like this, judging criteria, and especially the judges, are important. So let's identify and recognize who are the judges are for today's event. The first judge is Dr. Asanka Rodrigo. He is a senior lecturer attached to Faculty of Engineering, University of Moratuwa. He is also the former Director General in Sustainable Energy Authority, Sri Lanka. The next in line is Mr. Viren Berwalagi. Now, Mr. Viren has obtained his BSc Honours degree in Economics from University of St. Andrews in Scotland. He is also a member who represented the St. Andrews University at the World Universities Debating Competition in the year 2020. He is also working as an international adjudicator for debating competitions. Our last judge for today's event is Mr. Gihan Samaritu. He has obtained his basic degree in the field of business management. He is a former debate captain in the Anand College, Colombo, and he is also working as, he's also a former debating coach, and working as an adjudicator for many debates. And today we also have a match referee for today's event. The match referee is none other than Engineer Kovida Bakmidi. He is a civil engineer and associate member of Institute of Engineers Sri Lanka. He is a former debater and debating captain in Trinity College, Kandy. And now I would like to welcome and invite him to give a brief description about today's competition. Over to you, Engineer Kovida.
I hope I'm audible and visible. So, very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the grand finale of ISL YMS Inter-University Engineering Faculty Debating Competition. As usual, I would like to remind the competitors to uphold the ethics of a professional debating forum, a professional institution, and of course, the dignity of all the members joined here today. There is one important message that I would like to share to the competitors and also to the young ones joined today. That is, it's a message that might not be said that in other speeches, but I would like to mention it here. That is, debating is a platform where you all discuss important topics and most importantly, argue and defend opposing stances, which also means that you are trained to heed to opposing points of views and understand the roots of those thoughts and opinions. And finally, if you do understand that the opposing point of view is in fact correct through your intellectual capacity to understand, to be humble enough to stand corrected. A very important to professionals now who will take up key roles in the future that will be responsible for the development of the country and society as a whole. The other message that I would like to share is, as engineers, we should be capable of researching and educating ourselves in issues pertaining to other professions, to other professionals, and to have an unbiased opinion about those issues, and to finally support those other professionals in what way possible in our capacity as engineers. So these two very important messages I needed to give you, because as debaters, this will improve, these particular qualities of ours will improve. And in fact, in the long run, as you mature, as you develop your intellectual capacity, and as you develop as individuals, as professionals, it is a form of enlightenment to yourself and a maturity to yourself. So with that, I would like to congratulate both teams to reaching to the finals, and also wish them both the teams best of luck, and to have how would I put it, a great debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kovida, for your valuable inputs. Now, let's move on to the business end of today's session. It's the competition. Now, the topic for today's competition is shifting towards 70% renewable energy power by the year 2030 is feasible regardless of the current economic standpoint and framework of Sri Lanka. I'll read it again. Shifting towards 70% renewable energy power by the year 2030 is feasible regardless of the current economic standpoint and framework of Sri Lanka. Now, let's begin the competition. The first speaker in the competition, representing the proposition team, engineering undergraduate Sadia Jamil. Can we check your connection, please?
Yes, sir. Can you hear and see me?
Yes, Sadia. Yes, we can see and hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sadia Jamil, over to you.
The panel of judges, debaters, and everyone watching, good morning. Shifting towards 70% renewable energy power by 2030 is indeed feasible, regardless of the current economic standpoint and framework of Sri Lanka. First off, defining a few key terms. Shifting towards means that we move in the direction of. Renewable energy is energy that comes from sources or processes that are constantly replenished. For example, we have solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, hydroelectric energy, and tidal energy. Feasible means that it's capable of being done successfully, meaning, do we have the means to do it? And do we have the demand for it? Regardless means despite the prevailing circumstances, or in other words, without being affected by the current economic standpoint. Sri Lanka is a lower middle income country with a low GDP growth rate and a very high trade deficit. Keeping all of this in mind, our team will be proving to you today that moving towards the goal of 70% renewable energy power, as is suggested in the country for electricity by 2030, can be done without any effect by our current economy. In my first speech, I will highlight the global trends and global crises and highlight the need for this shift. I will then address the feasibility of this project with regards to our country's current situation and performance. My second speaker will address the positive and negative concerns with regard to this process and then weigh them to prove feasibility further. My third speaker will prove to you with simple logic that socially, technically, and also economically, the best investment for Sri Lanka indeed is in renewable energy. While doing so, she will be highlighting the additional benefits of this project to our country. And my fourth speaker will take care of the rebuttals. The global trends with regard to energy, as we all understand, are all revolving around one major crisis, which is the climate crisis. A Harvard expert, John P. Holdren's research article on the Harvard Gazette says that the impacts of global climate change are already causing serious damage to human health, property, safety, and infrastructure, even though the rise in the annual global average temperature is just 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Because of the nature of this impact, it seems almost impossible for us to allow any more of an increase in this temperature. If we let this increase happen, it will result in a much more exponential increase in the damages than we are experiencing now. According to his research, the biggest driver of all of this is the combustion of coal, oil, natural gas, and fossil fuels. It will take decades to free ourselves from the damages caused by these threats. Remember, we are talking about the global climate being so deeply embedded in the economies of developing and developed countries. As all of this has been spoken of, we see that our focus should not only be on implementing an infrastructure that comes easy to our country. We have a greater task to achieve. As our president stated, our aim is to transition away from fossil fuel, promote decarbonization, and make Sri Lanka a carbon-free neutral country by 2050. The target of achieving 70% renewable energy by 2030 is our first milestone towards achieving that goal. Sri Lanka's commitment to not construct any new coal power plant is reflected in its nationally determined contributions to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. However, this being said, is just not enough. We need to talk about whether Sri Lanka can achieve this goal by 2030, no matter what our current economy is like. This is what brings me to the feasibility factor. Sri Lanka is blessed with all needed natural resources such as wind, solar, hydro, biomass, and tidal energy that is needed for us to work towards this goal. And as of now, as you can see in this screen, we produce 43% of energy from renewables. This is according to the Ceylon Electricity Board. And according to the CEB, there are days when this percentage hits 60%. For instance, day before yesterday, our total energy consumption was 43.69 gigawatt hours, out of which 56.9% was generated through renewables. However, this very energy demand by 2030 is predicted to increase by 6.5% annually, according to the CEB. Now, to meet this demand, either through renewables or non-renewables, an addition of power plants must be made to the existing grid. And with our current framework to not construct any new coal power plant, this additional demand must be provided by renewables. Doing this will make it possible, as my fellow speakers will prove, to achieve the goal of 70% renewables by 2030. All of this being said, the framework being there, what is our real issue? The real issue is not achieving the goal of 70%, but it is maintaining it at 70%, reducing the instability of energy supply. I leave it to my team to present you with the solutions to this problem. With that being said, I'd like to remind you that these problems only simply require timely solutions, and solutions, as you will see soon, that are available within our country. These problems are not a label to call this a non-feasible goal to achieve by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadia Jamil. Let's give 2 minutes of silence for judges to mark their ballot sheets. Right. Let's invite the second speaker of today's event. The first speaker of the opposition team, engineering undergraduate, Vidura Vijayakon. Vidura, can we please check your connection?
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, Vidura, you are audible and visible. Vidura Vijayakon, over to you, please.
One of the best video game designers of the world, Shigeru Miyamoto, once said, "Delayed game is eventually good, but rushed game is forever bad." Honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin our controversy. Shifting towards 70% renewable energy power by 2030 is not feasible, regardless of the current economic standpoint and framework of Sri Lanka. So let us move to the main overview. First one, specified action in this topic. Shifting towards renewable energy power. And what are the conditions we need to specify? First one, time constraint, 2030. Second one, progress constraint, 70%. Third one, regardless of the current economic standpoint and framework of Sri Lanka. Let us explain briefly about this regardless of the current economic standpoint and framework of Sri Lanka. When we are considering our economy, there are two parts that we can consider. First one, macroeconomy. Second one, microeconomy. So when we consider about this topic, we need, the topic itself said we have to ignore the macroeconomic state, study of economic behavior of the state, we have to ignore. But it doesn't mean we don't need to focus on microeconomy. We have to focus on microeconomy. Then moving on to the feasible, as our proportion team leader has mentioned, we have to consider feasibility study, but it is the study that we can actually determine whether it is should go forward, determining its practicality and doability. We have to identify strength and weakness. So overall, it asks whether this idea, whether this goal is feasible or not feasible under these conditions. So main overview has concluded. Let's move into the main argument. So main argument, we are going to answer three questions. First one, what is the real purpose of this goal? Second one, what are we really looking at? Third one, why we are saying this action is not feasible under these conditions. First one, what is the real purpose of this goal? Since we have a sound audience and judges and everyone know about this global perspective of energy and power sector, I need to mention that in countries, many countries that have been signing up local and international agreements and go for the aim of clean and affordable energy, self-sufficiency, and less environmental impact. But adding a plus one, what is it? Reducing the existing problems on energy and power sector. In Sri Lankan scenario, if we consider 4 goals, we need to identify that 4 goals. When we are considering 4 goals, in these 4 goals, we need to focus on 3 key areas under this current existing problem solving. First one, engineering and technological difficulties, which focus on transmission, generation, transmission and distribution and other technical issues. Second one, awareness and capacity difficulties, which focuses on mainly about the lack of technical culture, maintenance culture, lack of R&D culture. So we need to focus on that. Third one, regulatory and policy difficulties. We have to focus on policy difficulties and other administrative and institutional difficulties. So summarizing, this problem is a very complex problem that ahead in 2030. We can't just put in the power plant into the system and remove the power plant out of the system. So if you want to make a plant, if you want to plant a tree in a specific area, you can't just plant a tree anywhere, because place to place we need to consider weather conditions, moisture conditions, and other relevant considers which affect the plant, the tree. So we need to understand that. So first question has been answered, and our second, third, fourth speaker are more going to talk about it. So second question, what are we really looking at? As engineering undergraduate, we should understand that this is not just giving a solution to a problem. This is not a single project. This is a national-wide project which aims to 50 or 100 years in the future. We must understand that. So we're not only limited to an engineering perspective, we must look at the customer perspective. The society divides into different parts. So we have to look at every sector, because this is just a this is a good project that we can affect the whole country. So not only engineering perspective, we have to look at as business perspective, customer perspective, and governance perspective. So if we are looking at 4 perspectives, then we can really identify what are the scope, what are the difficulty, what are the challenges like that. So according to that, it can be seen within the minimum time span, we can't achieve 70% of renewable energy power. Renewable energy power we can't achieve. So concluding that second question, I'm second and third and fourth we are going to talk about more about it. Going to the third question, why we are telling this is not feasible. Remember, there is a big difference between calculated time, ideal time calculations, and going for the real execution of decision. As engineers, we must understand that, because if you are giving a solution, if it creates some problems within that problem solving, it is unsuccessful. It should, its goal should be that it should maximize the problem statement. It should maximize. So what we are telling is, there is a, as opposition team, we are giving system transition solution. According to this system transition solution, we can get feasibility study, which focuses on technical feasibility, operational feasibility, schedule feasibility, and economic feasibility. Likewise, we can actually do a feasibility study and SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and also specific studies. We can actually determine what is the actual time span, what are the things that we can practically do. In 2030, we can get some percentage, but without getting the unrealistic target, please be practical as engineers. So our conclusion has decided. So thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you very much, undergraduate Vidura. So let's give 2 minutes for the judges to mark their ballot sheets.
Engineer Thilan, let's move ahead with the speaker.
Let's invite the next speaker for today's event. The second speaker of the proposition, Chatumini Vijaypala. Chatumini, can you please check your connection, please?
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, Chatumini, you are audible and visible. Engineering undergraduate, Chatumini Vijaypala, over to you.
The nation that leads in renewable energy will be the nation that leads the world. Honorable judges and all present. Are you aware about the increase of coal price? It's over $200 American per ton. If not now, when are you going to find solutions to this crisis? Global trend is going towards renewables, and why are we still hesitating? I would like to ask from the first speaker of the opposition, if not this, what is your plan to supply the energy demand by 2030? Because you didn't mention about the plan, what you all are going to do, because the energy demand is rising annually by 6.2%, as my first speaker said. Moving on. Today, I will show how they're going to make this 70% renewable energy target feasible by 2030. I will point out 3 negative concerns when working towards this aim. Then I will show how positive concerns outweigh these negative concerns. And finally, as engineers, how we can provide solutions to this. I will consider potential distributed energy sources with respect to Sri Lankan context: solar, wind, and biomass. First one is the implementation and the initial cost. With the current debts, with the trade deficit, how to achieve this target. Sri Lanka receives a year-round supply of solar energy because of its location near the equator and distinct wind patterns. With such blessed resources in hand to bridge the gap between debt and equity, attracting investors is the key thing. As you can see, there are 4 types of investors for renewable energy: the government, the private sector, financials, and retail investors. Individuals can partner up with these investors and pay back the investing amount through their electricity bill or as power units. It's been proven that the initial cost for a solar panel can be covered up from 7 years. So this is how we can achieve the target from microwave. Experts also thoroughly say that this is one of the best investments nowadays. Already banks such as ADB, BOC are giving a very low 4% interest rate for solar panel implementations. Moreover, giving insurances, warranties for solar panels will take away the reluctance of people to do such an investment. As you can see on slides, used solar panels can be recycled without categorizing them as wastage. Think that we are implementing a 300 megawatt wind power plant, which will roughly be around 60 turbines. We can implement 30 turbines first, and with the gain in profit, we can do the rest. Let me talk about the biomass. The initial cost is very low because organic materials such as Guinea can be easily grown. And also I would like to ask this question from the opposition. What is your solution for the damage causing to the environment by non-renewables from every aspect of the process, from the mining to the usage? Sri Lanka relies heavily on the import of fossil fuels. When 70% of demand is via renewables, the amount of dollars leaving the country will be saved. As on screen, this is how the electricity generation via coal reduces over time. Thus, this proves that by 2030, we're not only achieving the 70% target, but saving a lot of money and getting rid of the climate crisis. The second issue. Building the infrastructure for renewables is expensive, and as a country, we have less land. To implement a rooftop solar, only a proper roof is needed. For floating solar, reservoirs can be considered. Investors who are willing to invest in solar but thinking of land issues can ask people to rent their roof like they rent their house. After that, it goes 50-50. The roof owners, basically prosumers, will get the electricity supply free. On the other hand, long-term benefits such as profits by selling to the national grid will be taken by the investors. When sending the excess to the national grid, CEB should come up with a method to centralize the power grid. Thereby, they know when and how to generate power. So that people's mindset should be advocated with the long-term benefits. With that, putting up rooftop solar powers will be a happening trend. Also, it's not a problem to find land for wind power because turbines can be built on existing farms as well. For biomass, rural unused lands can be taken. Thus, this proves that the 70% target by 2030 can be achieved. Now, let me address the third one, that is the storage and the grid stability. And this point was raised by the first speaker of the opposition. I'll explain to you how to get rid of that. We know that we don't get the sunlight throughout the day. Therefore, because renewables are seasonal, therefore storing is a must. I will provide 3 solutions to the house today. The first one is the pump hydro concept, which is 80% efficient. Where water in lower reservoir is pumped to upper reservoir during daytime using solar energy, and during night, the water flow is sent downwards through the generator to generate hydropower. There are ample of filled reservoirs in our country. This is just a matter of converting the already existing generators into a pump to pump the water up during the daytime. The second one, storing in batteries. Considering dispersed batteries in electric vehicles, vehicle-to-grid concept can take place by storing energy during the daytime. Non-toxic batteries such as lithium-ion batteries, flow batteries can be used to store the surplus energy. Already there are companies in Sri Lanka producing this. Without piling up as wastage, used batteries can be recycled or sold to a high price for UK. Third one, to maintain stability, we have to implement flywheels. Also, the demand and supply should be forecasted for a short period by an automated control system. We are already technologically feasible. Correct strategic plans will ultimately make the power generation stable. Thus, this proves moving towards 70% renewable energy by 2030 is no more a topic of discussion, but a feasible implementation with a proper framework and an economic plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chatavini. Let's give 2 minutes of silence for the judges to mark their ballot sheets. The next speaker in line is the second speaker of the opposition. Let me welcome engineering undergraduate Maza Zaid. Can we please check your connection, please?
Sir, am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are audible and visible.
Okay.
Undergraduate Maza Zaid, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me answer some of the questions brought by the proposition speakers. First of all, the aim of Sri Lanka towards 70% renewable energy. Is it only for carbon emissions? If we compare, as per today, the carbon emission of Sri Lanka is 1.17 tons per capita. So when you compare countries like China and USA, even China is most likely to miss the target of 2050 by achieving 100%. That is our end goal. They are likely to reach it by 2060. So, my dear of propositions, it is not only the carbon dioxide. We can increase the technology of coal and LNGs so that we can carbon capture them and make a better result. But this is what we are suggesting is renewable is not bad. Renewable is good, but the time constraint you have mentioned and the percentage is not practically achievable in the current scenario. Okay, let's move on. The proposition was mentioning that we cannot bring by coal this time. They were talking about only coal. What about LNG? We have a resource in a Manna Basin of LNG. It was found and researched and found. So what about that? Okay, let me continue the answer to the question. What is the real purpose behind this goal? As our leader mentioned, there are engineering and technological barriers in generation, transmission and distribution in achieving this 70% renewable energy power mix. Let me explain the impact of few technical barriers. My dear proposition, the problem with you is here, you have to talk about the total generation for the year because there are climatic changes, there are seasonal changes. So you can't talk this total installed capacities. The first problem with this, our system, when we are transmitting towards 70% renewable energy is the inertia problem. Our power system is a synchronous power system where always demand should be equal to the supply. In case of a sudden failure in generation or sudden connection of an additional load, frequency of the system will vary from the nominal value, which is 50 Hz in Sri Lanka. The ability to withhold the variation in the frequency is called power system inertia. Conventional generators like coal, fossil fuel, and hydro, but hydro is somewhat minimal, reduce their rotational speed and some of the kinetic energy stored in their massive rotating components is released as electrical energy to maintain the nominal system frequency. But renewables such as wind and solar do not contribute to system inertia and incapable of providing additional power to the system in case of any system disturbance. My dear proposition, as we are engineers, we should know these technical problems we would come up ahead. So this has to be solved and we cannot rush towards this journey. And let's move. And if you can see in the slide here, the research paper published by Professor Janaka Ekanayaka from University of Peradeniya, he has stated that we cannot, the rate of change of frequency will increase by 50% if we are moving from 22 to 2030 due to the high penetration of renewables. And this is only for 64%. An increase of 6% more could be much more greater, and that's massive, my dear proposition. Moving on to my second point, awareness and capacity barriers. Plant capacity factor plays a complexity major role in this situation. If we check the point where the proposition mentioned, they talked about like this solar we are going to implement this much, so wind in the sea, in the water bodies, and wind over there, here. So what about plant capacity factors? Sri Lanka should think about plant capacity factors, where you can see in the slide, we have wind only 30%. This is from the Professor Janaka Ekanayaka from University of Peradeniya. In his research paper, he has suggested that the maximum we can achieve through wind is 30%. and solar it's 17%. So these technical terms are much more needed to this debate. So when you, if I just simplify it, the wind will be available only for 7 hours a day, and solar will be available in 4 hours per day. So the remaining hours should be fulfilled from coal and other gas power plants, and maybe hydro. But hydro, we are limited and we are saturated now. And so they are suggesting, according to 2019, 4,217 megawatt was installed capacity. But out of these, only 35% of the demand was met by renewable sources. So this has to be improved, my dear opposition. Furthermore, our speaker has explained about the importance of feasibility study in order to determine a practical time span to achieve this 70% renewable. And here, let's see about operational and economical feasibility. You can look at the slide here. These calculated decisions are far away from practical implications. You can see how the Sri Lanka, when we plan for something, there are practical problems, and we have to move on, my dear proposition, that plan every time the calculated decision will not be equal to the current state, right? So if you take these power plants, these are problems we are currently facing. And let's move on to Moragale. So Moragale is something we have in 2018, we have the same state. And if you take 2019, it's the same state, according to the reports provided by CEB in the annual report. So it's still 20%. We have to improve, and this has incurred a loss of rupees 3.5 billion for 2 years. My dear proposition, we have to remember this situation. And if the proposition was stating that we are going to install solars on our rooftop, my dear proposition, the inertia problem, look at that. If we are like directly connecting our grid to the local transformer, there will be voltage variation and frequency variation, and your equipments will be under dangerous, right? So you have to carry on. So this, and there we are going to implement many batteries, so their cost matters a lot. And we have this proof for the batteries in Sri Lanka. You said that they are producing batteries. Where's the proof? And we have to implement this 400 kilowatt transmission network. That is provided by the survey here by JICA. So a journey towards renewable energy is not a sprint. It's a marathon, my dear proposition. And we have to achieve this with a calculated decision. Thank you.
Now, let's give 2 minutes for the judges to mark their ballot sheets. Let's move on to the third speaker of the proposition team. The speaker is engineering undergraduate Netmi Satsarani. Netmi, can we please check your connection?
Am I audible and visible, sir?
Yes, you are audible and visible. The third speaker of the proposition, Netmi Satsarani, over to you, please.
honorable panel of adjudicators and members of the House. We do believe as propositions with the trends of renewables, this is the high time to invest on renewables and achieve the target. Let me clarify how we are going to achieve 70% of renewable energy in 2030 with increased demand. The first speaker of the opposition party raised the point that we can't remove the power plants existing from the system. Let me clarify. The total energy of the demand of Sri Lanka was fulfilled by 42% renewables in the last year. To make it more clarified, let's take the energy demand of last year. Last year's 100x unit with 42x from renewables and 58x from non-renewables. As we all know, the energy demand increases every year, and according to the CEB, it's 6.5% per year. That means in 2030, we need approximately 188x units to fulfill the demand. That means somehow, either through renewables or non-renewables, we have to add another 88x units for the system. If we add that 88x units with renewables, when we reach 2030, with the existing 42x, we can fulfill the 70% of total energy power. And also, is this feasible? Obviously, yes. Let me clarify. The second speaker of the proposition party raised the point about the plant capacity factor and the inertia. Let me get right in there. In this journey, the real issue of the plant factors. We agree on the point that we can't operate the renewables when we need that. That means in non-renewables, we can operate the plants when the demand is high and stop when the demand is low. But in non-renewables, anyway, we have to produce energy when the relevant source is present. Let me clarify, that's not a reason to identify 70% of renewable in 2030 as something not feasible. My second speaker has already gave the solution with pump hydro to store the energy, to store the electricity produced through renewables and release it when the demand is high. With the cascaded Mahawali system present, it's possible to implement that with less cost. And also, the second speaker of the proposition party raised the point about who are going to pay for batteries, the cost about the batteries. The battery storage cost is more likely to be commercially viable by 2025 with ongoing research and development activities, possibly even earlier than. And also, for instance, the battery storage cost was $1,000 per kilowatt hour, but now it is only $350 US per kilowatt hour. With increasing scale, battery costs are expected to fall even further, and the storage costs are estimated to fall by 50 to 60% from current costs in 2025, sounding economically good. And also, the second speaker of the proposition party raised the point about why don't we consider about LNG. When the implementation was Heladanavi was there in 2019, the LNG was the cheapest. But my dear friend, the energy sector does not stand still. We have to go with the new trends of the producing energy. And also, the first speaker, both the first speaker and the second speaker of the proposition party raised the point about practicability and doability of the system. My dear oppositions, we are not suggesting something magical for our country. There are grids in Europe which runs with 70% of renewables, and it's proven that instability and less plant factor is not a real big issue. We are suggesting that proven thing for our country in another 9 years. To implement this, there are enough brains in the country passing out from our universities, especially us, the engineers. And also with this target, in 2030, the benefits of the project do not stop there. With this target, the infrastructure needed for the electric vehicles in near future automatically develops us, making us ready for the upcoming fuel crisis. At that point, we can advocate people to charge their car batteries during daytime, giving them opportunity to charge them at working places, providing another solution for this storage problem. And also, the second speaker of the proposition party raised the point about that system inertia. To reduce, my second speaker has already come up with a solution with flywheels. And also, to increase the efficiency of the system, we can use cloud operating systems, which will sense wind, temperature, and which will use the cameras to predict very accurately what will be the behavior of the natural system and natural source in the next hour or next as we want. And also, if we consider about the cost and cost with regard to the economic standpoint of the country, since the demand is going high, we have to anyway generate the real energy demand of the country one-to-one. As we all know, the renewables are rising, renewable prices are getting low while the non-renewables are rising. So don't you feel that it's worth to invest on renewables and have long time benefited through that? If I go for statistics, in the implementation cost, coal power plants take $1.2 millions per megawatt. It's equal for wind as well, but for solar, it's $0.6 millions per megawatt, sounding economically good in implementation cost. If we go for unit generation cost, it's 18 rupees per kilowatt hour for coal. And now with the increased price of coal, which was 10 rupees per kilowatt hour previously. For diesel, it's 13 rupees per kilowatt hour. But for solar, it's 10 rupees per kilowatt hour. And for wind, it's 8 rupees per kilowatt hour. Sounding feasible in unit generation cost as well. When we took all of those together, it's very much clear that the total life cycle cost is low for renewables than the non-renewables, and that is something feasible. So with the points we taken out so far, reaching this target do not sound bad economically, technically, socially, or politically. So our stance still stands.
Let's give 2 minutes for the judges to mark their ballot sheets. Now, let's move on to the third speaker of the opposition. The third speaker of the opposition is engineering undergraduate Ravindu Sanjula. Can we please check your connection?
Yes, sir. Am I audible and visible to you, sir?
Yes, you are audible and visible. The third speaker of the opposition, Ravindu Sanjula. Over to you, please.
As the moderator initially mentioned that it is better to debate a question without sitting down to settle a question again. So that is what we are suggesting. We are suggesting to give the solution to this energy problem. We are okay with renewable energy. What we need to consider in the topic, whether it is time framely possible or not. As you see in the presentation, why we are moving to the renewable energy, because we need to achieve these sustainable goals in the future. And as my proportions are suggesting to go with the renewable energy, if we are looking at only the renewable energy, then what will happen to our education? What will happen to our environment? What will happen to our economy? Are we going to live in a country without food by only having energy? No, we can't do that. We cannot let our people to let in such a situation. If I come to my topic, according to the renewable energy policies, in a time of transition report published by the International Renewable Energy Agency, there are 4 main factors. First one, energy security. Second one, economic development. Third one, emphasize the word environmental awareness. Fourth one, engagement worldwide. So we have to consider this everything when we are achieving something goal, not as a single person, as a country. We have to think about that as a country. So remind that in your mind. And also when we are moving to the Bangladesh, they have done the analysis of techno-economic environmental suitability of an isolated microgrid system located in a remote island of Bangladesh. So what they have done is, as you are viewing in the presentation, first one, step 1, selecting the system. Have you done it? No. Step number 2, determining the site load and meteorological data and resources. Have you done it? No. If I move to the first speaker, if I move to the first speaker of the proposal team, feasible definition was capable of being done. So we have to think about whether it can be done within 2030 or not. And also solutions are available as the first speaker mentioned. But what we have to think in this topic, whether it is feasible or not within this short period of time. And also move into the second speak of the proportion team. If not when you are going to do, we also like to start moving to the renewable energy now at the moment. But you have to think whether it is really happening or not, as my first speaker of the as my leader mentioned. And also move into the Colombia, they have done another analysis of techno-economic development. So they have mentioned there that first one, renewable energy sources and also generation process. So for an example, if I take a simple example, if we are having 10 problems in this generation sources under the non-renewable energy sources, and also there are another 10 problems under the renewable energy sources, then what is the total? Total is 20. 10 plus equal 20. Then what is happening? The problems are increasing. That is why we say that we go under a feasibility study, then we can achieve the goal. And also we have to start the process now. And also if I go to the peak demand within 5 years, it is going to be increased. The growth rate is 5.1. We are not talking only with our ideas. We are talking by looking at the long-term generation extension plan published by the CEB. And also in 5 years, growth rate is 5.1 under the peak demand. So what is the goal that you are going to achieve by the renewable energy within 2025? Give me the answer. I expect the answer from the first speaker. If you are going to achieve a plan, then there should be an action plan. Within 21, this percentage, 22, this percentage, and also what you are going to do, it should be clearly mentioned in the plan. And also PV cost include the cost of projected ORE development USD 2,247 million based on economic cost. These are mentioned in the CEB generation external plan. So you have to go through that and research on it. And also total PV cost up to 2039 USD $16,775 million. And also, so that is why we are saying that this is not feasible. So you have to understand it. And also we never say that we should not go with the renewable energy. What we say is, let's go with the renewable energy, but not in a rush, not like running a marathon. Because if we are going to do that, our whole country will fall down. Then who is going to take the responsibility of that? That is what we need to think in this topic. And also when in the monitoring process, you asked about the action plan. When in the monitoring process, the progress of the project activities will be monitored periodically by the committee coordinating the project. The committee will be constituted with the representative from the following institution. First one, Ceylon Electricity Board. Second one, Minister of Power and Energy. Third one, Minister of Finance, Sustainable Energy Authority. Fourth one, fifth one, Department of Meteorology. We have to think about all these things. And also you talked about when we are moving to the SWOT analysis. In the SWOT analysis, we have to think about the weaknesses, strengths, and also what are the possibilities that we can achieve. So we have to think about what we suggest is we need to go with the renewable energy, but not in a hurry, not like a marathon. That is what we suggest. And also my third speaker mentioned that according to the CB, there are some possibilities to do this. But if you go through the generation external plan, they have clearly mentioned that their percentage, their achieving percentages are so much different to the another one. So what is the actual percentage that we are going to achieve as a country? That is my second question. And also when we are moving to the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, the second speaker gave the slide presentation in her speech, but she has left some slide in her presentation. That is the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. So our motion is standful that we cannot, it is not feasible to achieve 70% within 2030. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give 2 minutes for the judges to mark their ballot sheets. let me have the privilege to invite the last speaker in the proposition team, the fourth speaker, Akita Patirana, engineering undergraduate Akita Patirana. Can we check your connection, please?
Am I audible and visible, sir?
Yes, Akita, you are audible and visible. Last speaker of the proposition team, Akita Patirana, over to you.
Good morning, dear adjudicators, opposing team members. Let me move right into the opposing team's argument. The third speaker of the opposing side made the claim that what happens to our economic development, education, when we are only focused on energy. Well, let's talk about it. And I'll take an example. What about our rural areas? You know, with our current energy infrastructure, the people who are at a disproportionate disadvantage are the people in rural areas. They often lack access to the grid, and reaching and making the infrastructure possible for them to reach out is not economically viable. But renewable energy changes everything. See, with renewable energy, feasibility factors involved, the best areas to develop these solar plants, these wind plants, are often these rural areas. We will be deploying information technology to these rural areas. What happens when we do that? We will create jobs. And it's not just jobs in energy sectors. Other industries will move into these rural areas to access the cheap labor and the abundance of energy. What happens? More jobs. And what happens when we create jobs? We develop infrastructure. Schools and buildings will be developed. And when we do that, the education in these rural areas will be upgraded. Thousands will get a chance to get a quality education that they have deserved for their lifetime. Not only that, what comes along with education? Social change. Minorities and women living in these areas will finally get a chance to play an equal role in the economy, and they will be able to enjoy the same social privileges as we do. That is the potential of renewable energy. When we do it in rural areas, it has a chance to create this ripple effect that affects all the sectors, including education, including the financial aspects that my third speaker pointed out. So that argument is not viable. Third speaker. Let me move on to an argument from the first speaker. Lack of research and development is a problem when we are talking about implementing this. I talked about job creation in rural areas. Now, what about our high-skilled workers? What is the message we send out to the engineering undergraduates who are graduating from our universities when we are not serious about achieving this target? What is the message we send out when we don't want to do the research and development, when we don't want to create our own batteries, when we don't want to deploy the technology in Sri Lanka? You know, we know that they have a tradition of leaving this country behind for better employment opportunities. And if you think like that, oh, we don't have the research capacity available, we can't make the batteries, they will keep leaving. And you know what's worse? They go and work for foreign companies who compete with us. And that's been happening for the last 50 years. And if you want to stop that, and if you want to get a research and development base in Sri Lanka, this is what we should do. We should achieve our potential. We should actually take incentives to achieve our potential. First speaker. Let me move on to a point from the third speaker. He stated, time frame is an issue. 10 years is too short. We should not rush in, he said. And what is your plan for the next 20 years, he asked. Okay. Well, first of all, I have to say 10 years is not a short time period. Okay, it's fairly significant. And the other problem is, my second speaker pointed out, my third speaker pointed out, we have an increasing energy demand of about 6.5% every year. And if we supply that energy demand alone in 2030, we will achieve the 70% renewable energy target. Now, recently, the US President Joe Biden talked about moving away from fossil fuels. Very few investors are investing in non-renewables. Okay, all the major companies are moving out of it. Now, what happens when that happens? You know, the supply of raw materials required to make these non-renewables dry up, right, as companies move out of it. Now, and my third speaker pointed this out when she stated that coal prices are going up. Now, the problem is, as I said before, if we are not serious about meeting our future demand in 10 years' time, what does that mean? That means we have to upgrade our current energy system to produce more non-renewable energy, which we know we will transition away from. Right? Think about that argument for a second. What the opposition team is saying is that we should upgrade our current energy infrastructure to produce more of non-renewable energy. We will have to transition away from due to these reasons. That just does not sound like a wise decision to me, third speaker. And there goes your rebuttal. And let me move on to, this is also from the third speaker. And let me move on. This is going to be my final argument. Now, the third speaker made a lot of calculation and came up with a justification that the 70% target is not viable. There is one thing he forgot to add to his calculation. That is the cost of climate change. Let me end our team's argument with the first argument that my captain started this entire debate with. You know, what is hard to calculate is the amount of money we will have to set aside to deal with droughts and floodings we will have to face because of not meeting this demand. And you know what is even harder? What is even harder is to calculate the cost of people being displaced, or worse, people dying because of our failings. And when you add all that calculations up, when you add them together, you will realize our argument is very viable. And that is why I state shifting towards 70% renewable energy power in Sri Lanka by 2030 is feasible regardless of our current economic framework. Thank you very much.
Now let's give 2 minutes for the judges to mark their ballot sheets. Now, let's move on to the last speaker in today's contest, the fourth speaker in the opposition, engineering undergraduate Aisha Ajwad. Aisha, can we please check your connection?
Am I audible and visible, sir?
Yes, you are perfectly audible and visible.
Thank you.
Fourth speaker of the opposition, Aisha Ajwad, over to you.
Good morning, honorable judges, members of the proposition team, and members of the House. Today, we are debating on whether renewable energy, 70% of renewable energy, is feasible for Sri Lanka by 2030. Now, you have seen that the proposition team has brought forward many solutions, but they haven't exactly told us how they are going to achieve it or how it is planned. They are dreaming, dear members of the House, because those solutions that they brought forward are not practical, and the opposition team is mentioning that the time span of 8 years is not enough for them to achieve that target. First of all, the first speaker mentioned how the impacts of global climate are rising in the world and how the climate change is impacting the temperature rises of the world. So, and she mentioned that combustion of coal, natural gases, and oil also contribute. Well, as Sri Lanka is not a first world country who contributes much from the industry towards the emission of these gases, I don't think that we should be very concerned about that currently, because also the CEB Engineering Union has mentioned that if we are to convert to 70% renewable energy by 2030, we need to clear thousands of acres of forests. Now, won't that be contributing? Won't deforestation be contributing to climate change in the bigger picture, dear proposition team? She also mentioned that the President has mentioned that we need to convert to 70% renewable energy by 2030. Well, what is the reason for this? That is because of the sustainable development goals that are there. Now, remember, there are 17 sustainable development goals, and we cannot just focus on one, because Sri Lanka as a country needs to focus on the other sustainable development goals, such as zero hunger, zero poverty. And also the fourth speaker mentioned about rural areas. Well, that is a point for us. Thank you for mentioning that, because in rural areas, they are focused more on providing education and providing the zero hunger. With the current cost of living in Sri Lanka, how can we expect people to invest in solar panels also, the proposition team? Furthermore, the first speaker mentioned how the real issue is not achieving 70%, but maintaining that 70%. That is called sustainability, dear first proposition speaker. And we have to say that this form, this time span that you are mentioning and proposing is not sustainable. And let me show you why in my further arguments. The second speaker mentioned how banks are providing a 4% interest rate for solar panels and how people can rent their roof and how they can provide to the investors, provide to the national grid. And let me tell you why this is not possible. First of all, to have a contribution to the national grid, the people should have batteries to store the solar panel, to connect to the transformers, and they need to have the 400 kilovolt transmission line, and investors are not willing to invest in this 400 kilovolt transmission line because, and also then the government will only have to invest. So this is why we say that you cannot ignore the economic standpoint and the framework in Sri Lanka, because that is impractical to achieve in that 8-year time period. The fourth proposition speaker is mentioning how we are only focusing on non-renewable energy. No, that is not what we are saying. We are saying that it is not possible in that time span. Furthermore, the second speaker mentioned how dollars leaving the country can be saved. Do you understand the current economic situation the country is in? We have to focus on developing our economy, and therefore that's how we can focus on the end benefits of converting to 70% renewable energy. Therefore, do not count your chickens before they are hatched, dear proposition team, because we have to focus on the initial costs and the initial capital that we need to achieve this 70% renewable energy. If you look at the slide that we have on the screen, you can see that you need to achieve 70% renewable by 2030. You need to add another 3,575 megawatts of solar energy that is calculated by the CEBDA proposition team. And you need to have extra 1,250 megawatts of wind energy. That means about 840% and 400% increases from the current capacity. That means we need to roughly construct at least one power plant each, one solar and one wind to achieve this target. Now, is that feasible? Considering the past, where you can see how the plants have taken more than 8 years to get constructed. You know that we have enough examples to show that how we don't have a proper implementation plan in Sri Lanka when it comes to power plants. For example, the Siambalandu 100 megawatt wind farm was started plan in 2017, but it's still not started construction. So that means it's going to take definitely more than 10 years if you take the past examples of Norachule, Broadlands Power Plant, Umaoya hydropower project. So you must take the examples of the country, the framework, because you cannot dream in a situation which is not possible. We cannot go beyond the framework of the country because that is how the things work in this country. Furthermore, the third speaker is mentioning how battery costs are falling and how we can introduce it to our system and how it's not going to be a problem about the cost. Well, even the battery cost is too high for Sri Lanka to invest because it is, and they are also expecting the medium, how can even middle income families get these solar energy panels because they are struggling in the economy right now. Even small medium enterprises are struggling to invest in their own labor and production costs. So how can we expect them to go for something that has a long-term benefit and not a short-term benefit? Therefore, they won't see the returns in 8 years, the proposition P. Furthermore, the third speaker mentioned about the grids in Europe and how they are moving towards non-renewable energy. So you can see here in this pie chart that there is more non-renewable energy than renewable energy. And also in Europe, there's a European Union and there's an interconnected grid, whereas Sri Lanka doesn't have that. So be careful when you take your examples, the proposition team. Therefore, I'd like to conclude with that this time period is very important, and therefore we stand by our argument that it's not feasible within the time period. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's give 2 minutes for the judges to mark their ballot sheets. Now, let's move on to the final summary done by the opposition team. To do that, I'm going to invite the team leader, engineering undergraduate, Vidura Vijayakon. Vidura, can you please check your connection?
Yeah, am I audible and visible?
Yes, Vidura. Yes, over to you. Go ahead.
It's very nice to see there are many arguments and disarguments have been circulating around this debate arena. All the audience and judges and all the engineering undergraduates are in here will agree this debate is a good debate. And also, we had as opposition, Vidura has made a clear main argument that this is not feasible under 8 years. As engineering young undergraduates, that we have a responsibility to inform that proposition team, dearest proposition team undergraduate, that we have a responsibility to make correct themselves, because through this debate arena, if something some miscommunication will transfer to the audience or judges, it will affect the whole arena. It will affect the whole debate, not only the only debate, afterwards the debate. So we must understand that as giving a solution to a problem, we must be aware of that it has consequences from start to end. So going from our proposal, let me briefly explain that what we have done so far. So as a first speaker, I have clearly explained that about what is the 3 questions. So what is the real purpose? What are we really looking at? And why we are telling this is not feasible? And I have introduced the feasibility study and short analysis under the main topic of system transition. So system transition is not an easy task. It's a very huge task that we need to get a responsibility, not looking as engineers, but also with other perspectives also. So our second speaker has mentioned about the technical feasibility and economic feasibility. He has mentioned several resources and told that this feasibility, according to the current situation in Sri Lanka and according to Sri Lankan situation, even though we have anything that we must understand that with minimum 8-year time span, it is very unfeasible to reach that target, because we need to not only consider about technical feasibility, not only consider about economic feasibility, but proposition team members, they are time to time telling that we have a good solution, we have good innovative solutions. Please, we don't confuse with this thing, because we are not telling that these engineering innovations are bad. As engineering undergraduates, we are also actually inspiring with them. There are many engineer researchers and very scientists are producing engineering innovations. That's right. But what we are telling is, as engineers, we are not answering one solution, one problem. As engineers, we have a responsibility to consider time span and every factor that affecting those decisions. And our third speaker clearly mentioned, and fourth speaker clearly mentioned about those things, that also that in 2030, that solar and wind power. So solar wind power has to be generated 400% from the current existence. So think about that. So if we are get the summarization of that what has she has been in wind power, 250 megawatt are currently here. So we need to add another 1,250 megawatt, as fourth speaker has clearly mentioned. And solar power, we have 425, and we are at 3,575 megawatt, and we have to install one power plant per year. So in the current situation, it is very impractical to do that. And proposition telling that daily generation she was telling that daily generation curve. But the thing is, in this topic, that itself that underlining saying that annual generation power, annual generation that is need to be 70% renewable energy power. But the topic itself doesn't say that, because as engineering undergraduate, we must know that. So another thing is that another than thinking that initial solar power cost can be covered by civilians, said by the second speaker. But the thing is, you must understand that in the civilians, as fourth speaker has mentioned, there are many problems to recover, and there are many sectors we need to identify and analyze. So if we are only looking at getting the 70% of renewable energy power by 2030, we as engineers as failure, because we need to look at the other sectors also. Without considering those, how we are going to tell them? Okay, if you are saying that okay, by 2030 we are going to get this 70% renewable energy and shut down next. No, we have to maintain that. We have to get the responsibility and maintain process. What we are saying is, If we can get a feasibility study, if we can get a SWOT analysis explained by our third speaker, we can get a clear idea what is the practical limitation. So that's what we are saying. So unrealistic goals will define the jeopardize. Actually, the engineering profession as well as the future of the economy and future of the country, we need to understand. So that's what we are saying actually. But the dear proposition team, they doesn't have clear idea about that. They are only focusing, they are narrowing down the topic into one constant, and they are talking about engineering innovations are good. Why are you guys telling like that? No. And also the question raised by proposition team, we all have answered back then. And our third speaker and second speaker has, or third speaker and fourth speaker has already answered that question, because we have the plan, they have asked the plan. So the thing is, by 2022 to 2030, we have 8 years. Within these 8 years, the problem is we can get to some extent, some progress constant, but not to 70%. Don't make unrealistic target. Make a realistic target and achieve that. Because making an unrealistic target in nationwide, it affects the whole entire country. Because this is not the only sector that we want to talk about. We need to talk about other industry also, agricultural industry, every agricultural commercial industry. There are many sectors in the country needed to be addressed. So even though we have a problem, those things, how we are going to, while not considering them, how we are going to achieve the 70% of renewable energy power. So we need to consider about all the things that we have. Without that, going for the, if we have 100 solutions for one problem, if it doesn't suitable for the country's situation, that is unfeasible. That's what I am saying, that even though we have many solutions, because even though we have many solutions, as the example that I brought in the first speech, if you want to plant a tree, you don't need, you have a responsibility to take the necessary accommodation about the weather conditions and soil moisture and everything, and plan. Because if you're going to rush this process, please don't make that statement in the proposition team, because if we are rushing this progress, we actually end up with jeopardize. We need to understand. So the thing is, what I'm saying is that don't make that rapid movement, because the rapid movement actually get into another catastrophe in another sector. That's why what I have said in the first piece, a solution must be, it does not create sub problems when we are answering to a solution. So if it creates sub problem, that there's no point of getting that solution. That's what we are saying. That's what we are saying throughout the debate arena. But the proposition team member doesn't get that. And also that the fourth speaker has mentioned some things about jobs, infrastructure and development. But the thing is, not going for the 70% renewable energy, there are many solutions like that, as you guys said, but not in 2030. There may be multiple years that we have to consider. So the thing is that we need to levelize other things also when we are going to the net. So don't restrict in narrow mind and tell 70% is feasible. Get into practical sample, practical constraint, then we can all achieve and leave the debate enough. So thank you. And I'm concluding my speech.
Thank you very much. Now let's give 2 minutes for the judges to mark their ballot sheets. It's time for the final speech of today's event, the summary speech of the proposition team. To do that, I like to invite the team leader, engineering undergraduate Sadia Jamil. Sadia, can we please check your connection?
Yes, sir. Can you hear and see me clearly?
Yes, we can perfectly see and hear and see you. So Sadia Jamil, the last speaker, the proposition team summary. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. To summarize our team's case, let me run through what we proposed through our speeches. In my first speech, I spoke about why global trends are shifting towards renewable energy. With the UN's Framework Convention to Climate Change, I highlighted the need to move in the direction of renewable energy by 70% of electricity generation. I gave you an idea of where we stand now as a country in the eyes of renewable energy. I showed you that if we can supply the increasing demand through renewable energy, this goal can be achieved. My second speaker addressed all issues that come with the change from non-renewable energy to renewable energy. It was spoken of how the infrastructure and land and economical issues can be solved with timely solutions. The biggest issue with renewables is maintaining its stability. We understood that as a team. And because of that, she showed that the necessary technology for storing and upgrading the grid is available in Sri Lanka itself when she spoke about the pump hydro method and the flywheel method. These are already methods used in our existing grid. All we need to do is upgrade this. Adding all of this to the existing grid can be done regardless of what our current economy is. She proved that through investors and through alternative solutions, the target of achieving 70% renewable energy is not only economically viable, but is also socially and environmentally feasible as well. Moving on to my third speaker. My third speaker proved to you further how achieving the target of 70% within 10 years, within 8 years by 2030 is indeed possible, considering the global trends and considering how the prices are fluctuating in the globe. She highlighted the increasing demand in energy and successfully gave an answer to that by saying that this increasing demand can be supplied by renewable energy. And she said that once this is done, this goal of achieving 70% and also with the technologies of pump hydro and flywheels available in Sri Lanka, maintaining this at 70% is feasible, we proved through our speeches. Thus, through our speeches, we did not fail to address all pros and cons coming with this project. We gave solutions to the cons and also outweighed them with the pros. My fourth speaker then came on with rebuttals to prove our stance better against all the opposing team's statements. I'll get to summarizing our rebuttals. Let me first talk about the rush the opposing team was talking about. I started my speech by first highlighting global trends. My second speaker continued this by saying that this global trend results in the reduction in price in the sector of renewable energy. And my third speaker, through her calculations, showed that, in fact, going with the global trends and going with the fluctuation of prices, this is indeed feasible to do now. But why do we need to do it now, did they say? Is because Sri Lanka has always been lacking in going with the world with trends. We have always been going behind trends. We've always been going behind trends when the demand for it was extremely low. And that is why Sri Lankans see everything as costly. This target, achieving this target by 2030 is feasible mainly because the global trend is moving towards this. Sri Lanka has all the resources and it is a timely need for us to grab all the global trends when the prices are going down and implement this now. I'd like to also point out a few points made by the opposing team that they made with no proof at all. The first thing that I would like to state false is the chart they showed saying that a professor from our university, Dr. Janaka Ekanayaka, has said that this target can't be achieved because only so much has been produced by renewable energies. We, in fact, did have a discussion with Dr. Janaka Ekanayaka, and he said that all these grids have not considered this energy that we have stored, the energy that we have stored and the energy that we have with us to give back to the grid. And also, the third speaker spoke about reports from 2018 and 19, stopped there and said that we have shown no development. Where are the reports from 2020 and 21? Now you see, opposing team, this is where everything in the energy sector changes from every other sector. Things rapidly change, prices reduce fast, prices increase fast. And when it is time, we need to grab it. That is why it's feasible for 2030. And that is why y'all are wrong when y'all say that there is no development. I understand why y'all say it, because y'all have not laid your hands on the reports of 2020 and 2021. And then talking about them saying that we have completely neglected every other sector in the country. We have only been talking about energy. I believe that we were the only team that spoke about the infrastructure development that this is going to create, how this is going to make us ready to overcome the upcoming fuel crisis with regards to transportation. And we were the team that proved how this is going to develop our country's education and our country's economy. Another thing I'd like to state is that both teams spoke about the increase in demand. Only our team told us how we are going to supply this increase in demand. And we said that it can be done through renewables. The opposing team only told us that this can't be done through renewables. And they never told us how we can achieve and how we can supply this increase in demand. I bet they were a bit reluctant to say that we can do this through coal or diesel or any other non-renewable, because they know, and our third speaker showed through charts, that the prices for those are increasing rapidly. Thus, that problem, even though the opposing team saw as a problem, they didn't give us a solution to that. And also, talking about how they said that this is not economically feasible. One thing I would like to say is that the thing with renewable energy is that it is a stage-wise progress. You go stage-wise. When you go stage-wise, you don't have to have the initial capital as a whole in the beginning. My speakers mentioned about that before. By doing this, what happens is that we encourage our local investors. We have enough of rupee funds to fund these projects. This is why it is economically feasible and also economically secure and also energy secure, because we depend on rupees, we depend on local funds to stabilize our energy sector. And also instability issues, storage issues, and all of that we have proven and proven with proof. We have shown graphs. I'd like to remind you that the opposing team did not take any burden we imposed on them. They didn't discuss, they told us that Sri Lanka's carbon dioxide emissions should be neglected compared to China. I don't know how you can compare Sri Lanka and China with that regard. They've disregarded all pros, all cons that come with their proposal and only address pros. Whereas we gave answers, as I told you, to every con, and we outweighed them with the pros, showing that in the long term, stability-wise, going with the global trends, going with how the prices are reducing, this in fact is the most feasible solution for us as Sri Lankans. Therefore, I urge the judges to understand the motion and vote that shifting towards 70% renewable energy by 2030 is feasible regardless of our current economic standpoint and framework in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
That's it. Wow, the big final is done and dusted. Until I get back with the results, I like to hand over the controls back to the MCs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Organizing a debate competition, especially on a virtual platform, surely was not an easy task. As they say, it always seems impossible until it's done. After making today's grand finale a reality, ladies and gentlemen, we have the opportunity to get to know the great team behind the organizing of this competition. Here's to the organizing committee, the panel of moderators, university representatives, student chapter chairman, and last but not least, our very own panel of judges. To revive the virtual gathering, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very privileged and honored to invite the chief guest for the day, who is none other than the president of IESL, the Honorable Engineer KP Ayu Dharmapala, to share his message to the audience.
Engineer Damit Disanayaka, Chairman of YMS, Organizing Committee of the Inter-University Debate Competition, distinguished guests from universities, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to thank the YMS Chairman and the Organizing Committee of the Debate Competition for inviting me as the chief guest for this event. YMS being one of the most active and dedicated committees in the IESL, I greatly appreciate their work towards grooming graduates to become capable engineers in the future. While you are developing your knowledge in selected fields of study, it is equally important that you build additional skills such as leadership, teamwork, communication, and so on. Communication is an essential skill for engineers. Engineers are dreamers. They are responsible for dreaming up and building systems. Because their roles require team building and leadership, engineers must be able to clearly communicate complex ideas and technical project plans. They also need to be strong persuaders to see their designs come to life. Building consensus is a great giant step towards delivering a project on time and according to specifications. In my opinion, it is not difficult to improve your communication skills and become a good communicator. However, the only thing that can stop you from progressing is a lack of recognition. You must remember that you must put forth effort to improve your communication skills in order to become a good communicator. Confidently express ideas and thoughts, make a better impression on the people with whom you are interacting. Being self-assured demonstrators your authority on the subject and allows your audience to trust your abilities. Maintaining eye contact, maintaining good body posture, and expressing gratitude are always to demonstrate confidence in conversation. All of these things will help you connect better with your listeners and leave a lasting impression. If you want to master the art of communication, you must first develop self-confidence. However, there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance that you should never cross. It is quite common for people who are overconfident to sound more loud and aggressive during a conversation, to consider others' thought to be inferior, and to prove their point forcefully. When you and your audience respect each other, communication is always successful. You should respect the ideas and opinions of others during a conversation and allow them to speak freely about whatever is on your mind. I believe that the most important skill for becoming a great communicator is to be respectful of your audience. People are always eager to strike up a conversation with you and listen to what you have to say. The distinction between hearing and listening is significant. While hearing simply improves receiving sound in the form of words and sentence, listening entails hearing the words and sentences first and then processing them to comprehend their meaning. Communication, as I previously stated, is all about sharing and receiving information to understand what others are saying. You must be an active listener. you will be unable to comprehend the message if you are only hearing and not listening. As a result, if you communicate with someone and they notice that you are not paying attention to what they are saying, the conversation will end quickly. To become an active listener, you must concentrate on what others are saying and ask questions to ensure that you fully comprehend what they are saying. You must concentrate on what others are saying and ask questions to ensure that you are fully comprehend what they are saying in order to become an active listener. Okay. I strongly believe that the debate competition organized by the ISL, YMS is a great opportunity you all have received to improve your communication skills. Unfortunately, we didn't have such events when we were undergraduates. We had to learn those after we joined workplace. Now you have given this valuable chance to test your communication skills and practice them. I strongly and sincerely believe that most of you will take full advantage of this opportunity given, and I wish to see a good match. I wish all the best for both teams. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And now, to add more color to today's final competition, I cordially invite President-elect of IESL, Engineer Arjuna Manamperi, the special invitee of this occasion, to share his thoughts about this competition.
Greetings to all of you. I'm delighted to leave this short video message of greetings to the YMS debating competitors, and of course all the well-wishers and the organization, the chairman, Engineer Damit Dissanayake. I'm Engineer Arjuna Manamperi, President-elect, session 2020-21. I have been talking to Damit from the very beginning on this competition. We even discussed about the topics that you have discussed and debated for the last few months. And essentially why I'm delighted is because under the COVID conditions, you use the technology to make a breakthrough appearance and made this possible. We can do it. And that's what we have shown. Now, debates are all about winning at any cost, actually. Then there's another method called discussion. Discussions are all about where you still want to make your point and convince the other party, but it's more open-ended and sometimes can be closed, but it's more deliberate. The one who can have a lot of information normally comes out as the winner. It's our abilities and our science behind a dialogue. A dialogue is an open-minded person, two people or maybe many people, listening to each other, fully open-minded, with the intention of learning from others. What we really need is, ladies and gentlemen, is a dialogue to understand the issues and challenges we have in the world, the country, and even among our own organizations, and come up with solutions that are common to all of us, that we will buy in. So with that hope of you becoming great dialogue builders and open-minded people who will look for answers in these difficult times, I will bid farewell and wish you all the best. Have a great debate.
Thank you, sir. To acknowledge the reflective insights, it is time for the message from the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering of University of Peradeniya, Professor Gamunu Hera.
Good morning. President ISL, Chairman of the Young Section of the ISL, finalists from 2 universities in this debate competition, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first start by thanking the young member section of the ISL for organizing this event, especially during this pandemic period. This period shouldn't have been under stress for long delays in starting the universities as well as lockdowns. Without a doubt, this type of contest will certainly improve communication skills, as well as teamwork of the undergraduates, and also they will be able to think laterally about other disciplines. We at the faculty strongly believe that participating in this type of competitions will help the students improve their self-esteem, self-confidence, and also gain social skills so that they will be more motivated in the undergraduate programs. It also gives undergraduate a very good opportunity to work with a professional institution like ISL and develop their career paths early in their engineering life. In addition, students have the opportunity to develop their profession when dealing with diverse views of others. This is a good thing to listen to others' views when you are taking a decision. Furthermore, this is a great opportunity for them to work in a three-way collaboration, that is between the academics, the engineers as professions, as well as the students. As a faculty, we encourage students to take part in this type of extracurricular activities, including career development activities. Also, students in our faculty are encouraged to be involved in solving industry problems that deals with technical aspects, social aspects, economical aspects, as well as environmental aspects. We know that some problems are interconnected with all these aspects. For this purpose, recently the Faculty of Engineering, University of Peradeniya have come up with a new Engineering Technology Incubation Center, where we facilitate and foster innovations as well as to develop new innovative ideas. And final aim is to take them to commercial viable products. So without taking much time, let me specially thank our debate teams for their hard work and commitment throughout the tournament to come to this stage. That is also despite their busy academic schedule, because we have been continuing with our academic work throughout the last 2 years, but mostly on online basis. It is a good example for the others also. And I am definite that the other students also will be very much motivated with this achievement. So I would like to thank also the members of the student chapter of the ISL who coordinated this event from the beginning until now between the ISL and the faculty. Last not least, let me thank the academic staff members of our faculty as well as academic staff members of other universities, industry professionals, retired teachers who guided and motivated this team. So finally, I would like to wish both the teams a very good success and a wonderful debate for everybody, irrespective of who is going to win the competition. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you, sir. Inspiring the audience through his own insightful words, it is time for the message from the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering of University of Ruhuna, Dr. Harsha Suryarachi.
Good morning, President ISL, Chairman. Good morning, President ISL.
Madam Peri, Chairman ISL. Very good morning to all of you. President ISL, Engineer Mr. Dharmapala, President-elect Engineer Mr. Arjuna Manamperi, Chairman ISL IMS Engineer Mr. Damit Disanayaka, members of the Council Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka, members of the final inter-university debate competitions, Team University of Peradeniya, the proposition of today's debate. The Team University of Ruhuna, the opposition of today's debate. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I take this opportunity to thank Engineer Mr. Damit Disanayaka, Chairman ISL-YMS, for inviting me to grace this occasion and to asking me to deliver a small speech to this august gathering who have come to witness the debating skills of these budding engineers. It is really encouraging to note ISL-YMS under the able leadership of ISL President and ISL President-elect is doing their utmost to get undergraduate involved in this kind of competition during times faculties are closed or almost closed for the students due to COVID, and lot of the usual competitions IESL organize for students along with the annual sessions and techno exhibitions are not possible. Today's engineers are required to learn their subject content as well as soft skills to work in increasingly demanding workplaces. Debating is a good to hone one's communication skills, presentation skills, public speaking skills, quick responses, logical argumentation, critical thinking, and above all, develop relevant skills to stay calm and collective under pressure. This is also an era where we as teachers explore different methods of teaching and learning. And nowadays, debates are increasingly used to get the certain contents of the syllabi covered and even assessed. Topic selected today is very relevant. This is good training for young engineers to evaluate different viewpoints on one of the country's pressing needs, that is to plan and secure uninterrupted, cheap, greener power to face the challenges of the tomorrow. I take this opportunity to congratulate both University of Ruhuna and University of Peradeniya for coming this far to face each other in this grand finale of the inter-university debate competition organized by Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka. Wish both teams good luck. Win or lose, accept the results gracefully. Thank you very much.
Yes, so thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a bunch of individuals in this meeting today and also outside of the meeting, which we cannot forget at this grand moment, providing much needed assistance that we needed during a lot of hectic times. And also without your guidance, we might have lost our track of work and this competition would not have been this much of a success. Dear ladies and gentlemen, this tribute is for you. And hats off goes to, a huge applause goes to those people who helped us very much. And also, ladies and gentlemen, next, the moment that we are waiting for the final result of the inter-university debating championship, and also to get the comments about this competition. So for that, I would hand over this meeting again to the MC, to the moderator. So Engineer Dilina, over to you.
The time for the judgment is upon us. But before doing that, I like to get the views from the judges about today's contest from their perspective. And I'd also like to request from all contestants to turn on your cameras while the judges give their comments. So first of all, I like to invite Dr. Asanga Rodrigo, who acted as the first judge for today's event. Dr. Asanga, over to you, please.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to thank ISL Younger Member Session for organizing this type of timely important the debate, which is very, very important even now, not only among the younger members, but also this is debated among the professionals in the industry. So that it's very important, and also I would like to congratulate both the finals, the teams, University of Peradeniya as well as University of Ruhuna, very talented debaters. Okay, all of them are very talented. No doubt that what will be the result, because I have to congratulate, they will be the leading people in the society in the future. And also throughout the debate, I noted that, okay, they have gone through the details, even though they are from different discipline, but they have researched the topic very well. And I must thank and also encourage them. You have done a very good job, no matter whether it is opposition or the proposing parties, so that you have done a very good job on researching the topic and gathering the information, and also the presenting the information, so that I must encourage and also the wish them very well. Okay, it's a very good debate. No doubt that, okay, I cannot say any the drawback or something like that in the debate. So while congratulations, okay, you have to accept whatever the result, so that it was a very good debate among the two teams. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asanka Rodrigo, for your valuable inputs about this contest. Now I like to cordially invite Mr. Viren Berualage. Mr. Viren, it's over to you.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very honored to have been here this morning to judge the final. Firstly, thank you to all debaters for what was a very interesting debate. And for those of us with not much of an engineering background, it was very engaging, very educational, very informative. When you have a prepared motion like this, and I'm sure both teams had significant time to prepare for this motion, you did yourselves justice with the amount of research entailed. I was very impressed by the different sources you all referred to and the different references you all used during the course of your speeches, and various examples you all cited from different sources as well. It was a very high quality debate in that aspect, and we thank you all for devoting ample time to do your research ahead of this prepared motion. I've been told to keep you all in suspense and not give away too much of my verdict. So I'm going to stick to giving you some general constructive feedback that you can take with you for your future tournaments as well. So I've kind of highlighted the positives. So let's look at a few areas that we could potentially work on going forward into future debating tournaments, right? So when it comes to debating, regardless of the format, be it the Oxford style, be it the British parliamentary style, or be it any other format of debating, it is not about the number of points or the listing of points that you give us. It is about the levels of analysis that are embedded under those points. So especially when you have a prepared motion of this nature, you can sometimes fall into the trap of being too factual or too theoretical and try to list out too many aspects of that motion without delving into levels of analysis. So what I'd suggest is focus on 1 or 2 points and give me significant levels of analysis that will help you win the debate based on those 1 or 2 points. And I think that will help judges realize that you all have delved into various levels of analysis and have focused on 1 or 2 main points that will help win you the debate. So in terms of prioritizing your substantive arguments, make sure that your most significant point comes first and spend ample time focusing on it with different levels of analysis. And my second point under that, right, is the notion that it was nice to see the usage of slides that you could use as prompts, but ensure that you only use those slides as prompts. You'll have to give me the levels of analysis orally to back those slides up. And I think that is something that is important for you to note going forward, because as much as we'd like to credit the material on the slides, we'd like to credit your speeches independently of those slides. So use those slides as prompts and give me levels of analysis that go beyond what you've expressed in those slides. And finally, and I think this is a point that that was kind of accepted on both sides in the most part, right? Climate change is a crisis. The need to combat climate change is of paramount significance. In an economic standpoint, and this is where I bring in my economics background, we're reaching a bit of a prisoner's dilemma in terms of climate change. Developing countries are reluctant to combat climate change directly because they pass the burden and blame onto developed countries who have already industrialized and already emitted significant amount of CO2 emissions, which has caused us to reach this particular scenario right now in status quo, where we are having to deal with combating climate change. So when it comes to a question of whether you want to prioritize economic development or the environment, what is important to note on both sides is how you can merge the two and make your economic development sustainable. And I think that was what was necessary on both sides to try and show me how Sri Lanka as a country over the next 9 years can have sustainable economic development, keeping our obligations towards combating climate change in mind. But I fear that if I delve into this further, I will give away my verdict. So thank you for a good debate. And I hope you take our feedback in a constructive sense. And commiserations to the team that ends up losing, and congratulations to the team that won the debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Viren Berulage, for your valiant words and valiant advices to all contestants. Now we move on to the third and final adjudicator for today's event, Mr. Gihan Samaravikrama. Mr. Gihan, over to you, please. Yes.
First of all, I would like to thank the young members section of the Institute of Engineers Sri Lanka for giving me this opportunity to be an adjudicator for this grand finale. And congratulations to both teams representing University of Peradeniya and University of Brunei for a great contest. And especially with this debate, a topic of this nature, I thought was very timely. So kudos to the organizing committee as well, because the entire globe is talking about sustainability. We're all talking about renewable energy. So it was a very important topic to be discussed at this particular forum. And well done to both teams. And I believe since it's a prepared speech, both teams have done extensive research. But like Viren also mentioned, at the end of the day, for us adjudicators, what matters the most is how you connect that extensive research you've done and make a logical nexus to your arguments, right? You need to connect the dots and show us how your research translates into a valid argument that you substantiate throughout the course of the debate. And there was a lot of information coming in from both sides and a plethora of examples coming in as well. If I look at this particular debate, for me to decide the debate, there were main 2 clashes that it was decided on at the end of the day. One was, especially with a topic like this, where we talk about feasibility. The time constraint was a factor that both teams harped on throughout the debate. So that was one clash for me. And the second clash was focused on the capacity, whether we are going to have enough capacity. And on both these clashes, I think both teams did a commendable job substantiating their case. But at the end of the day, I thought one team did slightly better than the other in terms of connecting the dots, showing me that their extensive research actually translated into a substantive argument. And I also thought in terms of refuting, now we talk a lot about rebuttal in debating, right? Sometimes you tend to not respond to some of the points raised by the opposition, but a point to note is that even if it's very analyzed or not, in a debate, you need to try to respond to everything. Even with a one-liner, you need to prioritize your rebuttals as well, while prioritizing your arguments. And I thought one team did slightly better than the other in terms of refuting the other team's argument as well. So at the end of the day, for me as an adjudicator, I think one team did marginally better in terms of analyzing their arguments, showing me that logical nexus, and in terms of their refutations as well. But very well done to both teams. Kudos to the organizing committee as well. And I'll definitely keep it short as well, and let's keep the suspense as well. On a final note, I would like to say that it is a big challenge when you debate on a virtual platform. I myself, Viren would also agree, because it's very hard. It's very hard to keep the audience engaged, especially on the virtual platform, to have eye contact, use hand gestures. It becomes very difficult. So congratulations to both teams for making it a very interesting debate and keeping us engaged throughout. Very well done, and all the best.
Thank you very much. We have Mr. Gihan Samarikram, who is the judge and final judge for today's event. And now I like to call upon the match referee for today's event, Engineer Kovida Bakmedenia. Over to you to give you some comments about how the match process within the given time period. Engineer Kovida, over to you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Tirina. As I mentioned earlier, I wish the both teams to have a great debate, and definitely it was one. So I want to congratulate both the teams, whoever who won or lost, it doesn't matter. It was a wonderful engagement of ideas, thoughts, arguments, and all that. But what I need as a debater myself, what I need to tell both the teams is that you might have felt that you would have given facts and figures and facts, and it might have piled up and more towards your argument, where thought in your mind that, okay, we have given so much facts. That's not what it means to debate. It's that how you, again, as both the adjudicators mentioned, Viren and Nihan, that how you translate these facts into your argument and how you present it. It doesn't matter if you have hundreds of facts for your argument and the other team has about 5. If the other team is successfully giving an argument in a very active way to rebut, and then to debate, as in how it would be translated as a debate into the argument, wherever it goes, it does not matter. The debate, and in a debating point of view, because we are supposed to convince the listeners, it turns on to that people who translated the facts into an argument and then brought in. So it doesn't matter, even if you say, if you in your mind you mention a few facts to rebut, if it's not backed up and then properly translated into an argument, it might not work. So that's the reason. That's why I have to mention in this particular argument. And I have no idea about the adjudicator's result, but so I would like to mention good luck to both teams, and it was a wonderful debate and everybody was engaged in it, and we would all like to see the result in the end. So over to you, back Engineer Tirina. It was a great debate. Thank you very much, and of course we would see what happens in the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kovida. I think all fair play for today's contest. Thank you very much. Now, we are in a crucial juncture in today's contest. It's time to announce the winners and for the award ceremony. But before announcing the winning team, we like to give two special awards. The very first award is the best speaker of this grand finale. Now, who do you think is, or who do you think she is? The best speaker in the grand finale today is none other than engineering undergraduate Akita Patirana from University of Peradeniya.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for the award.
Right, thank you. The next award is the best speaker in the whole tournament. Now we had 7 teams from 7 different universities, and the best speaker throughout the whole contest is none other than Akita Patirana from University of Peradeniya.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the award.
Yeah, you can't just say thank you, Akita. Just we need to speak a few words with you. Yeah, Akita, I know you are over the moon right now. You may find a little short in words, but just tell me, considering this pandemic situation and given the limitations that you had, how you prepared as a team, and just tell me how the other guys supported you to do well in this competition.
Yeah, I think, like you said, that's the key point. I think although the award was awarded to me, I feel like this is not just an award for me. I think it was a team effort, especially our captain. She rallied the team around, and due to the difficulties that we had because of the pandemic, I think at the end, what happened was, we had a lot of support from the academic staff, from other lecturers, from different universities, from resource persons, and from our seniors as well. We had a lot of support. So that really allowed us to get our arguments together and present it in a really nice way. And so I honestly don't think this is just one of my awards. It is for the team, I believe.
Yeah, going forward, Akita, what do you take away from this, right? To your future endeavors, for your careers, maybe your future debates. So what do you take out from this competition? What is the best thing that you take out?
Yeah, I mean, I think this competition has been going on for over 4 months at least. So, I think what you see here is the presentations that we do. At the hardest part about this debate is what we do in the background, and the countless hours of meetings that we had, the discussions that we had. I think those are the things that I'll take away. The ways of thinking, communicating with people, getting your arguments across, and getting the team together to give out a performance like this. So I think those are the positives, and something that not just me, but all of my team members can take forward and invest in our future.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ajita. Enjoy the win.
Thank you.
Now, it's time that you all have been waiting for. It's time to announce the winning team. It was 7 teams, 7 matches, and it all boiled down to this grand finale. And the winner of the Interfaculty Debating Competition 2021 to 242 marks versus 224 marks in favor of University of Peradeniya. Congratulations to the winners and commiserations to the runners-up as well, because yeah, everybody is a winner in this competition. So first, I like to invite the team leader of University of Runa to showcase yourself, because you are going to receive the trophy for the runners-up and a cash prize of 30,000 rupees. So let me kindly invite the leader of Team Ruhuna, Vidura Vijayakon. Yes, can we have you, please? Yes, Vidura. Yeah, best of luck. I know you fought really well. It was a close competition, 242 points to 224 means 18-point gap. It was a close match. Very well done. You were the second best among 7 teams, and that is an achievement itself. So tell me a little bit about how your team prepared and what is the situation like. What is the support that you received from your university in this? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so thank you for the that introduction, Engineer sir. So first of all, I would like to thank for the young women section ISL for the organizing this kind of event, because it was a very good chance to raise our voice in this debate competition and actually get to know many other younger engineering graduates from other universities. So it's very good chance. And talking about the team preparation and other things, actually from the beginning we had many barriers. So in barriers in sense that some of our members got sick, get infected COVID likewise. So many barriers have come about. But the thing is that in each match, the thing I actually really admired is that team inspiration and all our work together. So it's the thing that actually that I really admired, that because our team is incredibly supportive, and actually that with that team inspiration we have come so far. And also I must thanks to our university administrative and the resource person that who has helped us in every debate match, that actually without their guidance actually we won't be here. So it was a very good chance to showcase our talents. So thanks to every friends of my university and other university friends, and the engineers, experts that and resource persons who have helped us. So that's the thing that I want to admire. And yeah, thank you again for the ISL Young section for organizing this type of thing.
Yeah, thank you very much for participating as well, because amid the various examinations and amid difficult situations, you have done really well to contribute by participating to this event. So I like to congratulate you all for that. Very well done, University of Ruhuna. And I know you will take a lot from this competition to your professional careers as well. So thank you very much. Moving on, let's move on to the winning team. I like to cordially invite the team leader of the winning team, Sadia Jamil, to receive the trophy and a cash prize of rupees 60,000. Yeah, Sadia, can we have you on board to share a few ideas with us, Sadia?
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you are enjoyed. This was a long tournament, lasted over like 3 or 4 months, but you have gave it everything and finally emerged winners. So congratulations on that. So tell us little bit more about your journey, your inside stories. How was it, Sadia?
First of all, thank you so much, sir. I don't think it's fair just me being here accepting the trophy. I wish we could pin all our members if that's possible, because it would not have been a success or a possibility if not for them. Anyway, thank you so much. About the journey, I'd like to thank all the adjudicators for teaching us so much. I feel like every debate we made a huge progress, and it's all thanks to the feedback we got from the judges, the hours they spent with us after the debate explaining what and what not to do. I thank each and every one of them so much for that. And to our lecturers, to everyone in the university for how much they supported us with our exams, with our academic schedule, understanding that we have this debate and understanding how much it means to us. The changes they made for us don't unappreciated. I thank them for all the effort. And finally, to my amazing team and second family, thank you for organizing all the meetings and being there with each and every one of us through thick and thin. And if not for them, this would, I really don't, me being pinned, I honestly wish they can be there here with me as well. So yeah, that's what I have to say. Thank you so much to everyone.
Yes.
And also
Yes,
special thanks, if I don't mention this, to our parents with our connection issues, how much they went above and beyond to see that our connections are stable, that we are in the right place in our houses. Throughout the debate, all the parents, I thank you all so much with this. And also most importantly, for staying quiet during the debates. I mean, all the siblings and all of them, it is a commitment and a half. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sadia. That's why I like if all of you can stay at one place and enjoy this, but unfortunately we can't. That's the difficulty that we are facing. But hopefully, let's pray that we can do a physical meeting when the next year comes around. And I like to also mention, thank you, Sadia, for your time. And I like to also mention that we will send all the trophies and cash prizes to the relevant winners in the near future, physical. So that's it from me today, and I like to hand over the controls back to the MCs. Thank you very much and have a blessed day. Thanks again.
Thank you, Engineer Disanayaka. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a marvelous, intense end of a battle between two of the prestigious universities, and our heartiest congratulations goes to members of the University of Peradeniya team and also University of Ruhuna. Thank you very much for your participation and you put through in order to make this competition very much interested, and that was really marvelous. And also, ladies and gentlemen, now with that note, we are moving on to another exciting occasion in this event, and that is the awarding ceremony, the awarding of the certificates and the medal for the competitors of the final, for the runner-ups teams and the champions. So for that, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon the runner-up team of the grand finale of the Inter-University Debating Championship, University of Ruhuna. Mr. Vidura Vijaykorn, Mr. Mazhar Said, Mr. Ravindu Pereira, Mr. Aisha Ajwad, Mr. P. Vishnavi, Mr. Anita Subahara. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, the finalists, the champions of the grand finale, University of Peradeniya team members, Ms. Mil, Ms. Chatumini Vijayapala, Ms. Netmini Satsari, and Mr. Akita Patirana, Mr. Denuka Jayavira, and Mr. Pasindu Karunaseka. Yes. So with that, we will send you the awards and all the certificates to you. So thank you very much for again joining with us and giving us this much of an amazing and intense and heated debate throughout this event. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to move on to the vote of thanks. So for that, I would like to call upon our dearest engineer, Ishan Dahanayaka. So Ishan Dahanayaka is a chartered civil engineer graduate from University of Peradeniya in 2007. He is a bridge structural engineer design and construction at Port Access Elevated Highway Project, MG Consultant Private Limited, and also he is a member of IESL Kandurata chapter, and also he is a committee member of Young Members section of IESL. So, ladies and gentlemen, the vote of thanks, Engineer Dahanayaka.
Thank you very much, Sahan. It was a heated debate that we all experienced a short while ago. Both teams showed their performance in a high level. I congratulate the winning team of this competition University of Peradeniya. And I wish you all the very best to the runners-up of this competition, University of Pune. Today, it's my duty to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing committee. First, I would like to thank today's our chief guest, Engineer KPIU Dharmapala, President of IESL, for your participation. Thank you very much, sir. And today's our special invitees, Engineer Arjun Manaperi, President-elect of IESL, Professor Gamun Herath, Dean, Faculty of Engineering, University of Peradeniya, Dr. Harsha Suryarachchi, Dean, Faculty of Engineering, University of Pune, Engineer Mahanam Disanayaka, License Officer, University of Peradeniya, Dr. Sujiva Vimalasena, License Officer, University of Pune, Professor Udayang Hemapala, and Engineer Chamil Hidrumini, both are advisors of a young member section of IESL, and Engineer Navodana Kankanambi, past chairman of YMS. Thank you very much, sir, for your participation, accept our invitation on behalf of organizing committee. Then I would like to especially thank to executive committee members of IESL and CEO Engineer Neil Abe Sekar and its staff, and all university license officers and its staff. Thank you very much for your immense support to organize this event. Engineer Damit Disanayaka, the chairman of Young Members section of IESL, you are the key role who initiate this event. I must thank the chairman of IMS, the secretary of IMS Engineer Randita Rajapaksha, and executive committee of IESL for giving us immense support to success this event. I would especially thank to today match referee and chief educator for this event, Engineer Koidawak Medenia. Without you, this event will not be successful at all. Thank you very much. Also, I would like to thank to today's match educators, Dr. Asanka Rodrigo as the subject specialist, Mr. Viren Berulagi, Mr. Gihan Samaravikrama as educators, all educators in past matches for your contribution. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank today's match moderator, Engineer Thilandisanayaka, backup moderator, Engineer Sabri Samu, and other educators in past matches, Engineer Sara Masuk and Engineer Amit Adhikari, for make this event very attractive and alive throughout this event. Also, I would like to thank all 7 university team members. Without your dedication, this event will not be successful at all. Mr. Pradeep Tatu, the secretary of the organizing committee from University of Pune, and today's master of ceremony, Ms. Charitri, Sena Ratna and Sahan Gudakanda, and other all technical team representing all 7 universities. You were the backbone of this event. Thank you very much. Finally, all university student chapter chairman, all university representative of this event, and dear audience, thank you very much for your contribution and for the participation. We will meet you next year as well in this debate in 2022. With that, I will conclude my word of thanks. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Over to you, Chaitri.
Thank you, sir. Once again, our congratulations goes out to Team University of Peradeniya. Surely this was an immense opportunity for both teams from University of Peradeniya and University of Pune and all the other universities which took part in the competition throughout. I hope this remarkable milestone will always be a gratifying support to your future endeavors. After witnessing that this competition had not only been a great experience, but also a turning point for some, hopefully we would be able to meet you not virtually, but in the same room next year, once again with the inter-university debate competition. Ending the event with much contentment, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you and goodbye.
ඉරහඳ ඔබමයි දකින අසන සිව් දිග ඔබමයි ඉරහඳ ඔබමයි දකින අසන සිව් දිග ඔබමයි මුවන සයුර පෙම්බර මිහි මඩල පුරා නැගුණු නැගින මතුනි නැවෙන ලොවම අරා හිනැවෙන වැළපෙන සැනසෙන ගුගුරන නැවත නිසලවන ඉරහඳ ඔබමයි දකින අසන සිව් දිග ඔබමයි නුවණ විනා ලෝකය දෙස බැලු විට ඔබේ නුවණ කළ මහ විස්කම් හමුවේ නුවණ ලෙසින් ඒ නුවණ රකින්නට නුවණ ලෙසින් ඒ නුවණ රකින්නට රටක දැක ජන හදවත් එරටමයේ සූරිය සන්දිරරේ கேட்கும் திசை எங்கும் நீரே சூரிய சந்திரரே காணும் கேட்கும் திசை எங்கும் நீரே வானில் கடலிலும் அன்புடன் பூமி எங்கும் நிர்மாணிப்பதும் உலகெங்கும் சிரிப்பதும் அழுவதும் மகிழ்வதும் அதிர்வதும் மீண்டும் அமைதி பெறும் சூரிய சந்திரரே காணும் கேட்கும் திசை எங்கும் நீரே මානව අරුම පුදන ඔබ උපන්විමත් ලද මහරු මහිම වේවා මනස නගා මනුදම් ගුලවන්නට මනස නගා මනුදම් ගුලවන්නට ඔබේ මහට දීකී මලසක් වේවා ඉරහඳ ඔබමයි දකිනාසන සිව් දිග ඔබමයි ඉරහඳ ඔබමයි දකිනාසන සිව් දිග ඔබමයි මුවන සයුර පෙම්බර මිහි මඩල පුරා නැගුණු නැගෙන මතුනි නැවෙන ලොවම අරා හිනැවෙන වැළපෙන සැනසෙන ගුගුරන නැවත නිසලවන ඉරහඳ ඔබමයි දකින අසන සිව් දිග ඔබමයි සූරිය සන්දිරරේ காணும் கேட்கும் திசை எங்கும் நீரே இரஹඳ ඔබමයි